On March 8, 2014, at 12:42 a.m., Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 was flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, but it never reached its destination. No one knew where it had gone. 8 years later, news was reported about the discovery of the plane. Welcome back to Explora Docs. The journey that was supposed to go from Malaysia's capital, Kuala Lumpur, to China's capital, Beijing. On the flight, there were 2 pilots, 10 crew members, and 227 passengers. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, 53 years old, was among Malaysia Airlines' most experienced pilots, and Farik Hamid, 27 years old, was present for a training flight. There was no sign of any mechanical or electronic issue on the plane, as the route from Malaysia to China was a routine one, operated daily. Normally, this journey would take 5 hours and 34 minutes. Flight MH370 began its takeoff at 12:42 a.m., as scheduled, heading towards the South China Sea. At 1:09 a.m., the aircraft's transponder transmitted its GPS position to Kuala Lumpur's radar. This is an automatic system in the aircraft, which sends its signal to the nearest radar at fixed intervals. Up until then, everything was normal. But at 1:19 a.m., as the plane left Malaysian airspace and entered Vietnam's, Kuala Lumpur Control Tower made final contact with Captain Zahari.
Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
At that time, the plane had been in the air for 37 minutes. Until a flight reaches its destination, it must remain in contact with some control tower. Everything appeared routine. But at 1:21 a.m., the plane vanished from both Kuala Lumpur's and Ho Chi Minh's radar screens. For Kuala Lumpur's radar, this was not unusual, as they assumed the aircraft had entered Vietnamese airspace. But when Ho Chi Minh's radar noticed the disappearance, they did not treat it as normal. They immediately attempted to contact the pilots, but received no response. For 18 minutes, efforts were made to reach MH370. Later, Ho Chi Minh Tower contacted Kuala Lumpur and reported the alarming situation. In such cases, emergency centers must be informed after 1 hour, but Kuala Lumpur Tower delayed notification for 4 hours. At 6:15 a.m., the time the plane should have landed in Beijing, there was still hope. But very soon, that hope was shattered. By 6:32 a.m., rescue operations began in the area where the plane had disappeared. 7 countries took part in these operations, involving 34 ships and 28 aircraft. Searches were carried out in the Gulf of Thailand and the South China Sea, but no trace of the aircraft was found. The entire world was stunned by this bizarre incident. For 4 days, operations continued, but no positive results emerged. On March 12, 2014, a report shocked all rescue teams. Although the plane had disappeared on March 8th, it was tracked on military radar for nearly an hour afterward. According to military radar data, the plane first turned right, but shortly after, it turned back towards Malaysia. After flying for 31 minutes, it passed over the city of Penang. At 2:22 a.m., the aircraft was seen heading towards the Indian Ocean. This was the last point at which it appeared on military radar. After this, the plane disappeared from both military and civilian radars. Investigators, officials, and the public were all left wondering, where did the plane go? Another shocking fact was how the aircraft had managed to reverse course from its route to Beijing. When the aircraft's trajectory pointed toward the Indian Ocean, search operations also shifted there, but again, nothing was found. In the following days, another revelation changed the course of the investigation. At 2:22 a.m., when the aircraft disappeared from military radar, a satellite was still in contact with it. Boeing aircraft are equipped with a system that automatically connects to satellites if communication systems fail. This system transmits information every hour to the Inmarsat satellite, located 3,500 kilometers away. According to the data sent, the aircraft continued flying over the Indian Ocean for another 5 hours. At 8:19 a.m., the aircraft made its final connection with the satellite. That was its last signal. This meant that while rescue teams were searching the seas, the aircraft was still in the air, far over the Indian Ocean. Based on the data, this point was nearly 2,000 kilometers west of Australia. Investigators concluded that the aircraft most likely went down there. From Kuala Lumpur to this location, the journey would have taken 8 hours, exactly the endurance of the fuel on board. To find the aircraft, the search operations were expanded as the black box needed to be located to uncover the truth of the incident. But months, even years of searching yielded no significant results. 3 years later, in April 2014, the search was officially called off. The cost of the operations was around $160 million, but they produced no conclusive findings. In 2015, the first piece of debris, a flaperon, was found washed ashore on Reunion Island, east of Madagascar. More pieces were later found on other islands. In 2018, the American company Ocean Infinity launched a no-find, no-fee project, but they too failed to locate the plane. As for what exactly happened before MH370 disappeared, no definitive answer exists. Several theories attempt to explain it. Captain's deliberate action. The flight path was intentionally altered, flying along the Malaysia-Thailand border to avoid radars. Evidence of such a simulated flight route was found on his home computer, though officials denied this theory. Captain Zahari was known as an experienced and content individual. Rear section detachment. Aviation experts suggested, based on analysis of flap and flaperon debris, that the rear sections had detached, while the central fuselage sustained limited damage. This suggested the plane may have been deliberately ditched in a controlled manner rather than crashing uncontrollably. However, this contradicted ATSB's conclusion that the aircraft ran out of fuel and spiraled out of control. Technical failure or oxygen loss, possibly. The plane then continued on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. New evidence, 8 years later, 2022. Richard Godfrey, a retired engineer, used radio wave technology to calculate the flight path. According to him, the aircraft lies in the 7th arc of the Indian Ocean, at a depth of 4 kilometers. He claims the aircraft could be found if a search were conducted there. Some experts question the reliability of this method, but others find it promising. MH370 remains one of the world's greatest aviation mysteries. What will happen the day we finally uncover the truth? I hope this video was informative and valuable for you. Thank you very much.